Esta pregunta se relaciona con los paneles 11 al 13 de la exposición, donde se analizan gráficamente tres casas destacadas. En ellos se realiza una categorización de los componentes de la casa en la que se diferencia el papel del hall intermedio y sus conexiones externas e internas con otros espacios. Entre ellos, el porche de entrada, las estancias sociales, el garaje, la zona de servicio y la escalera. Las conexiones entre estos espacios se enriquecen por las características del predio y la topografía, que producen variaciones singulares al patrón del hall intermedio. Ejemplo es la casa del panel 11, donde el hall conecta el acceso con el jardín posterior y se extiende desde la primera planta hasta la planta bajo la cubierta inclinada. Neil, ¿cuál es tu opinión sobre estas variaciones en los paneles, las variaciones en las casas, en los paneles 11 al 13, su representación gráfica y su relación con casas semejantes en Inglaterra?
Well, what I think is interesting about these three houses is that they're all designed by the same architects, the ones I mentioned earlier, Trujillo, Gomez, and Martinez Cardenas, and they're built within a period of 3 years, 1939 to 1942. Two of them, Casa David Puyana and Casa Ernesto Puyana, might be for brothers. I really don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence that the same family name is there. And who knows, maybe Luis Lara is related or maybe not. So there's sort of three buildings with many similarities in terms of provenance and architects. But there's only one of the three which I think really work in terms of this notion of the middle hall, and that is the third one, the Casa Ernesto Puyana. And to me, it's by far the most interesting of the three. The first one, the Casa David Puyana, appears to have layers of hall on the entrance level and then the entrance above, and there's a big stairs at the back, but there's nowhere standing in the entrance hall that one can appreciate any sense of height. And the stairs at the back, yes, there's a big stairwell, but you have to go and find it. So I fear this is a rather compressed space. The Casa Luis Lara, on the other hand, has a huge atrium space in the middle with galleries around the side or landings around the side and stairs linking them. And to me, it loses any sense of domesticity and looks more like the central atrium in a hotel, or dare I say it, in a department store. Whereas coming to the third one, the Casa Ernesto Puyana, although it has a low ceiling, it has this stairs set in to one side in a corner, perhaps in a box, with glazing going up the wall, and it's immediately enticing and interesting and mysterious, and one gets drawn towards that. And I find this by far the most appealing of the three, and it's the one that reminds me most of English examples. New Place, for instance, by Charles Voysey, where the stairs are again set to the side and there are windows there. I think this is perhaps the most, or the closest of the three to British or English examples.
Bueno, los casos seleccionados buscan ilustrar esa variedad de posibles conexiones que se establecen entre el hall intermedio, el porche de entrada, las estancias sociales, el garaje, la zona de servicio y la escalera, que establecen relaciones variadas en donde se matizan a su vez por circunstancias específicas, ¿no? Como el predio, la topografía, y consiguen pues imaginativas inflexiones a los modelos ingleses originales. El primer caso muestra una casa aislada, ¿sí?, que se implanta en una manzana triangular en pendiente. El bloque del núcleo social principal de la casa se ubica en el eje del acceso en una cota intermedia que define dos jardines opuestos, con una diferencia de altura que se resuelve con el descanso de la escalera. El hall intermedio y la escalera principal, en el extremo opuesto al acceso, logran vincular las tres plantas de la casa, desde la entrada hasta el nivel superior, constituido por un gran espacio social bajo cubierta. El segundo caso, la casa se ubica en un amplio predio rectangular entre medianeras y se compone de dos bloques desfasados, un cuerpo principal y uno complementario de servicios. En el primer piso, el hall intermedio integra 5 estancias sociales, incluida la escalera principal, que en este caso, como lo decía Neil, pues está acodada, ¿no? Es lateral. Y en el tercer caso, ilustra un tipo de agrupación continua con una casa con semisótano. Allí se establece una conexión casi continua entre el porche circular, el hall intermedio, que integra las estancias sociales, y una escalera monumental que remata la secuencia con una tensión vertical. Pero insistimos que estos son 3 casos resaltados porque constituyen solamente pues, una muestra de esta multiplicidad de variaciones autóctonas bogotanas.
Bueno, yo en mis intervenciones siempre aparece una referencia a la Bogotá de origen español. Me interesa comparar los caracteres de la ciudad fundacional con los barrios ingleses. Así que ya en el primer día comenté que en la ciudad colonial española, tanto la manzana como la parcela se convertían en recintos arquitectónicos, de modo que el recinto de la manzana contenía a los de las parcelas y estos a su vez contenían los patios, que son también recintos, según una autosimilitud fractal muy interesante. Tanto el trazado urbano como la parcelación en esa ciudad imprimen regularidad a la arquitectura, cosa que no ocurre en los barrios a la inglesa, ¿no? Y la pendiente del terreno parece que no altera sustancialmente la relación entre las piezas. Siguiendo un poco los contenidos de la pregunta sobre la influencia de la morfología de la parcela y del trazado sobre la casa, diría que la urbanización en Ciudad Jardín frecuentemente se sirve de implantaciones donde las parcelas suelen tener perímetros poligonales no rectangulares y también asentarse sobre terrenos accidentados. La pendiente repercute entonces unas veces dentro de la casa, en su sección, como se ve en el primer ejemplo de la casa David Puyana, y otras veces estos desniveles se resuelven en el exterior, en la parcela, en el jardín. La casa David Puyana muestra esa clara articulación de los niveles dentro de sus espacios, de modo que los recorridos internos otorgan un sentido palaciego al espacio y expresan intencionadamente el lujo de la vida de sus habitantes. También las simetrías cruzadas y las transparencias denotan que se trata de una arquitectura de autor que contrasta con la vocación anónima de las casas coloniales. En la exposición quizá hubiera sido útil tener elaborado un dibujo de la planta de la casa con su parcela, es decir, dibujar más la parcela con toda su importancia, porque ahí se pondría en evidencia cómo los jardines se utilizan, como sucede en esta casa, David Puyana, como una sinécdoque de la naturaleza y expresan una vocación aislada y antiurbana en esa casa especialmente. Mientras que las otras, la casa Luis Lara, tiende a llenar su parcela. No hay prácticamente jardín y entonces se muestra como una serie de townhouses con su fachada alineada casi con la calle. Y por último, la casa Ernesto Puyana, y en esto estoy de acuerdo con las observaciones que se han hecho, cultiva de un modo bastante enfático y delicado el estilo neotudor y es más fiel a los modelos. Gracias.
Ernesto Puyana, who was a wealthy landowner and merchant, was the original owner of one of the English houses in La Merced neighborhood in Bogotá. His three-story house consists of a single main body, with a narrow perimeter front garden and small patios and rear gardens. On its north elevation, there is a large stone window to indicate the staircase, a characteristic shared across all houses in the neighborhood. The grand entrance hall is centered in the plan from which all main rooms are accessed, and it is labeled as Great Hall. Past the porch, the hall integrates three social rooms that interconnect with each other and communicates directly with the grand timber staircase. The stairs, through a wide void, link all the floors of the house, from ground floor to a social space in the attic on the top floor. The English style and design chosen for all the houses in La Merced was not only a reflection of the client's and architect's taste, but was also a status symbol and a way to convey the client's social standing in terms of wealth and power. Therefore, the house and the hall should also be understood as a space for social representation, providing an impressive stage or background for social functions, adding a new qualitative level to the hall's formal definition. The library, located to the front of the house, as a projection of the main elevation, is accessed from the main entrance hall. This room must have had a special importance, as it has wood paneling, a large window, and a fireplace with a stone surrounding. Resonating with the hall and the library, the dining room was also a formal and masculine tone, to its decoration shown by the dark wooden paneled walls.
Thank you. I find it difficult to remember all the points raised, but if I can start with the most recent, or almost the most recent point, which Patricio was making about the David Pugnana house, how this built for a rich merchant. It's a status symbol, and yes, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. What I find slightly intriguing is that this house was built in 1942, at which time Britain, as you all know, was at war with Nazi Germany. So why didn't David Pugnana choose a German style for the house? Why did he choose a British style? Or one could actually say maybe this is a bit German by way of Das Englische Haus and Hermann Matthesius introducing English house styles or manners into Germany in the first few years of the 20th century. But I think there could well be some sort of gesture here that some faith perhaps in this type of architecture, the architecture of Queen Elizabeth I, an architecture of a time when Britain was quite strong, and maybe in 1942 it is a reinterpretation of that. Antonio's comments about the same house I think were really interesting, and I can see in the cross-section how the landscape starts to relate to the building itself. The north elevation, as Patricia, I think it was, said, is the one where the big window is that lights the stairs. And there's a clear relationship through that window to the patio space outside. In England, or in Scotland even more, we're very concerned about windows facing south to gather the sun, because we don't get much of it. And I haven't seen it this year, for instance. So our windows tend to face south when we're trying to draw in the sun, but you are much closer to the equator. The sun is much higher in the sky. A north window, not that it would necessarily catch the sun for much of the year, nevertheless would be something that is quite acceptable in that climate. And I can see that the patio might be shouldered a little. But the British houses did try to respond to the outside landscape. In the early 20th century, the late 19th century, people with money, with wealth, who would build these houses tended to wear much heavier clothes than we wear now. There'd be a lot of woolen underwear, and the opportunities to go outside were, in a sense, as a result, rather greater. In other words, you didn't get cold the whole time. So drawing rooms, reception rooms would open onto terraces, and people would move out and use the terraces on the south side of the buildings, very much in a way that you show in the cross-section of the Casa Pugnana. And I think of buildings by Lutyens, for instance, who does this, and Lutyens' architecture and his relationship to the garden, not least to his client and friend Gertrude Jekyll, were very important. The landscape and the buildings did very much work together. Well, after that breakdown, I've slightly lost